Greetings one and all. We're on Super Sundays here in the Holy Land, in the holy city of Elon Moreh Shechem, right next to my holy yeshiva. Hope everybody had a meaningful and uplifting Purim. We are on the 20th day of Adar, 5786. As always, classes for the sake of heaven, to remove the divine presence from the exile, to improve ourselves one small step. Today's one small step is equal to a gigantic step of yesteryear, to change ourselves just a little bit. The shout out to our wonderful sponsors, to the 24/7 team of Mike's team in the Holy Apple. As you know, there are 3 apples in the world. There's the mini apple, there's the big apple, but there's the Holy Apple, the Holy Volunteers 24/7, helping us locate lost Jews, lost and found, yes. Last but not least, the holy blog, palmtreeofdeborah.com. One word, well worth your time. Check it out. Make time. Okay, this class, besides being for the sake of heaven, it is also to uplift the holy souls of 2 friends of mine, their relatives. One is Moshe Yaakov ben Aryeh Leb from the Holy Gottlieb family in the land of Israel, and Tzvi Elimelech ben Chana from the Holy Land of Israel. Okay, we are, believe it or not, part 6. Amazing. I hope, God willing, that there should be one more finale, the grand finale of these classes, the great debate, which took place about 2.5 months ago between 2 very important personalities, one from Los Angeles and one from the holy settlements of the land of Israel. It is always linked below in the description, and also the previous classes. I do not think that there has been such an in-depth series on the issue of the land of Israel, the commandment of the land of Israel. It was a tremendous kindness that God put in my lap to go. Now, I know that it's very learny. It's not current events, so to speak. It is current events. The land of Israel is always current events, but you know what I mean. It's not talking about prophecies in Iran and all these spicy issues that going to the army in Israel. So, but it's very, very important. 49,000 people saw that debate. Let's say half of them disagreed. So we're talking about 25,000 people we have to reach. These classes, because they're more on the learned side, they get about 250 views. Without you out there, we are limited by YouTube restrictions sometimes because of our content. So we depend on Hashem and you all to do your part, get it out, try to put it out. People that would be interested, to put it on their websites, spread the word. Life and death issue. Okay, so just a quick summary of the titles of the other classes. Point number 1, centrality of the land of Israel. 2, ramifications of Abraham coming to the land of Israel. Point number 3, comparing doing commandments in Israel and outside. Number 4, what does it mean exactly? We're not Karaites, so what does it mean when the Talmud tells us that one that lives outside the land of Israel is likened to one that does foreign worship? Point number 5. A simpleton in the land of Israel is greater than a giant outside the land of Israel. 6. Building up infrastructure. Getting stuck outside the land of Israel, building it up. 7. Maimonides did not include the commandment to live in the land of Israel as part of the Big 613. 8. We showed many examples, the importance, centrality, which we do not see with other commandments of the land of Israel, overriding other tremendous foundations of the Torah. And point number 9, which was about 3 days ago, actually a week and 3 days ago, was Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, Zecher Tzadik, Kadosh Livracha, his response that in his law books, that it is a voluntary commandment to come to Israel and not an obligatory one. So today we are on point 10 and part 6. Okay. This is a very delicate issue. I would never say this on my own. I'm not saying anything for myself. I am dust to the feet of the giants of Torah of the previous generation, the Lubavitcher Rebbes, Satmar Rebbes, Rab Moshe Feinstein, and the like. Once again, these people are giants. It's not even that takes away from their greatness. However, a very important point, which was mentioned by the Los Angeles rabbi, what about how do you explain the great ones not coming to the land of Israel and not telling their followers, their flock, to come to the land of Israel? Once again, it's a very sensitive subject, so I say everything with the utmost respect and humility. Not from me, from Torah giants throughout the ages. Okay. In the words of the Rabbi of LA, did they blow it? Did the Gedolim blow it? The Torah giants outside, specifically he was talking about ones in America, did they blow it? Okay, we're going to take this, God's help, from a couple of different angles. Number one, unlike Christianity, unlike Islam, the Torah bends over backwards to show us, to teach us, that the greatest of the greatest of the greatest, the rabbis that I mentioned, and in previous generations, they will all agree that they are dust to the feet of the Torah, our Torah forefathers, mothers, etc. They'll be the first ones to agree. Now, we have to understand these, when the Torah shows us that the greatest of greats, from Adam down to Abraham to Jacob and Moses and Joshua, and the beat goes on. Of course, they were taking a microscope and enlarging the sin, the transgression. That should be understood. It's not me and you doing what they did. Okay, it's blown up. But it is such an important lesson. In fact, every time we learn about a sin of our forefathers in the Torah, this is brought down in many books, that it gives them an atonement for the minuscule transgression that they made. So it's not a negative thing. It's a positive thing for us to learn from them, not to make that mistake. And it's also for them. We don't hide blemishes like Christianity and Islam. Point number 2. Coming to the land of Israel, moving to the land of Israel, living in the land of Israel, has from the beginning, as we will show here, amazingly, has been a tremendous sore thumb. From the time of Abraham. Abraham, he came to the land. Well, put on a seatbelt, you're going to need one. One of the 3 pillars, Code of Jewish Law, he went according to the 3 pillars of Jewish law. That was the Maimonides, the Rif, and the Rosh. Rabbeinu Asher. Rabbeinu Asher on the Tractate of Yevamot, chapter 6, paragraph 12. I summarize. Amazing. Once again, I would never say this. It's not me. God commanded Abraham to go to the land of Israel, but Abraham became lazy and did not go. Even after going to the land of Israel, he came back to outside the land of Israel. Therefore, he was punished. We don't realize this, but Abraham went twice into the land of Israel when he was age of 70, came back, and then 5 years later, at 75, that's where the written Torah picks up the story from there. So this is an amazing Rosh. He's talking about just the subject. We're not getting into it. It's beyond the scope of the class today. It's talking about a person that doesn't have children for 10 years. Does it matter if he lives outside the land of Israel or in the land of Israel? That was the discussion. It says that Abraham, when he came to the land of Israel, after 10 years that he was here, he had no kids. He took a maid servant named Hagar, and he had a child named Ishmael. The rest is history. Okay, that is amazing. From the time of Abraham, became lazy, went back, returned, was punished. Whoa. Jewish people in Egypt. This sore spot continues. The Kli Yakar, in 2 places. He writes, one in Genesis 47:27, and also in the beginning of, in Genesis also, but the beginning of the portion of Vayechi, says the same idea, that when the Jewish people came to Egypt, they came with a mindset of temporary residence. But as time went on and they were successful and they grew, they began to leave the Jewish ghetto of Goshen, and they began to become very, very successful in Egyptian life. There were even Jews, people shed a tear And they're so proud that Henry Kissinger, a Jew, came to office, but 3,337 years ago, there were Jews in government positions in Egypt. They were well-to-do, and therefore they forgot the land of Israel. Therefore, they did not want to leave. Amazing. They came down with the right intentions. I'll never forget a quick story. I went to a friend of mine who had come to live in the land of Israel, and then he went back, he got married, and I went to his house, and there was nowhere to sit in his house. Nowhere to sit in his house. I said, "Where's your furniture, dude?" He says, "We don't have any furniture because we don't want to be comfortable, and we want to get back to the land of Israel." I hate to say this, but 35 years later, the bro is still there. Now he has furniture, don't worry about it. You don't have to send donations, etc. Okay, so a lot of things start out like they should, but then they go south. Not good. Okay. In two places, Shmot Rabbah, chapter 14, paragraph 3, Mechilta 3:18. Says there, 80% of the Jews in Egypt did not leave, and they were killed in the plague of darkness. 80%. Whoa. On the source, Shmot Rabbah 15a, one of the leading commentators on the Midrash Rabbah was Rabbi Hanoch Zundel. He lived in 1859 to 1883 in Russia. And, no, excuse me, his commentary, Eitz Yosef, was printed in 1883. Okay, so he writes there, many Jews were interested that God would free them from bondage. Of course, you don't want to be a slave. And then they would be free in Egypt and would not have to leave their homes. That is amazing. The Eitz Yosef just hit it out of the ballpark. And like Tomer Dvorah likes to say, that ball is still going. Amazing. Let us free us from bondage, but let us remain in our homes, in our jobs. Our sages tell us that many Jews were honorable people. They were honored in Egypt. They were wealthy. They had good jobs. As I said, there were even government positions. They didn't want to leave. Might sound familiar today. Okay, next, the spies. And I always have to say it. God sent me this great one. Why do they call them spies? Because they despised the land. They despised the land. Yes, that's where the word comes from, spies. Okay. Rabbi Yosef Karo. He has a commentary not only on code of Jewish law, but also on the Torah. It's called Magid Mesharim. In the portion of Numbers, portion of Shlach. Listen to this. Moses made certain that the biggest giants, the likes of Joshua, would be sent to spy the land, and not the regular leaders who dedicated the tabernacle on the first day of Nisan in the desert, so they would not fail in their mission. So that is Rabbi Yosef Karo. Rabbi Akiva Schlesinger. Rabbi Akiva Yosef Schlesinger lived 1837 to 1922 in Hungary and later in the land of Israel. He was a student of the son of the Khatam Sofer, the Ktav Sofer. Here I summarize his idea. Here in the desert, the Jewish people had the manna bread. They had no financial worries. They could sit and learn all day without any interruptions or interferences. If we go to the land of Israel, we will need to work the land. This will cause us to lower our level. If you remember, when the spies came back, they said, we saw the Nephilim. Nephilim means people that fall. They were talking that the spiritual level would go down if we came into the land of Israel. That's the Nephilim, falling down, losing, so to speak, our lofty spiritual level. Okay. The Shem Shmuel, Rabbi Shmuel Bornstein, 1856 to 1926, wrote the famous Shem Shmuel on commentary on all of the Torah and on the holidays. In Deuteronomy, in the year 5675, he writes the following: the spies were a part of the generation of knowledge, Dor De'ah. There will never be such a high intellectual level the Jewish people will ever reach till the times of the Mashiach. They were a part of this generation of knowledge. In their eyes, entering the land of Israel was a level down. The manna and Miriam's well were conducive to Torah study and worshiping God. The Ger Rebbe, in his commentary on the Torah, in a book called Sefer Haschut, pages 37 to 38. That was Rabbi Yitzchak Meir Alter, the famous Alter family. I summarize. Amazing idea. You might as well put another seatbelt on. If we look in the Torah, we see after the story of the spies finishes, we have the commandment to put on a four-corner garment, tzitzit, fringes. So the Ger Rebbe asks a tremendous question. What is the connection between the land of Israel and the four-cornered garment and the fringes? Says the following. Torah teaches us, do not go astray by what your eyes see. Now the expression is used there in the Torah, the eyes. Do not go astray with what your eyes see. So the word in the Torah, eyes, also means the leaders of the Jewish community, or the Jewish law tribunal They are the eyes, so to speak, of the nation of Israel. This also refers to the Sanhedrin, the Jewish tribunal court. If even they tell us not to go to the land of Israel, we should not listen to them. Amazing. That is the connection between the Torah telling us the story of the spies and not coming into the land of Israel, and then right away the commandment to put on the tzitzit, the four-cornered garment with the fringes. The connection is, do not go after your eyes. That if the great ones tell you not to go to the land of Israel to observe this commandment, don't listen. Do not, just like the verse says, velo taturu, do not go. And he says an amazing prophetic line. It is very possible that before the redemption, we will have similar tests. Amazing. The same tests that the generation in the desert had the test of the spies. It is very likely, very possible, that those tests will reoccur. Once again, I would never say such a thing, but it's the Gerer Rebbe. Next, the chief rabbi of Jerusalem, Rabbi Yosef Chaim Zunenfeld. In his book, The Man on Top of the Wall, page 144, listen to what he says. When the spies came into the land, the divine presence settled upon them. Divine presence. Prophetic divine presence. And they received a glimpse into all generations that would enter the land of Israel for the entire history line. They saw our generation also, said Rabbi Zunfeld, with the Zionists, and they were aghast. They claimed, it is better we do not enter. These are the spies. When they saw the generations that would come into the land of Israel and the spiritual level that many of them were on, they came to a conclusion that it's better if we do not go in. We will lose our spiritual level. As we said, they saw the Nephilim. They saw those that fell. Rabbi Zunfeld concludes, God gave us a commandment. Do not think for a moment that we are wiser than God. Throughout Jewish history, there have been giants that thought that they knew better. And they made a tremendous mistake. God had given a commandment. God said to do A, B, C, or D. And they did differently. God will take care of those generations that their spiritual level is very, very low. As it says in various books, the land of Israel eventually will bring back all of its people to repent. the land of Israel, the influence of the land of Israel, spirituality will eventually, and we see that in our times, a tremendous, since October 7th, a tremendous wave of repentance. Amazing. There are more, percentage-wise, the younger generation has passed the older generation in its keeping of the Torah and commandments. Amazing. That we saw various commentators as far as the spies. They were great. They were righteous. They made a mistake. 10 out of 12. It was only a minority. They were the Gedolim of their time. We continue. So far, Abraham, Jews in Egypt, the spies in the desert. It was after 70 years we were in the Babylonian exile. The first temple was destroyed. 70 years had passed. It was time to come back as God promised. As we know, only 42,000 people returned, the mass majority, and the righteous and the winners, so to speak, they did not. They stayed in Babylonia. The losers, the poor, the trodden, they came back. Let's look for guidance, for light from the words of our sages. Okay. It says in the Talmud, in Tractate Yoma, page 9, side B, the sage Reish Lakish, he was bathing in the Jordan River, and then a rabbi from Babylonia came by named Rabbi Bar Bar Chana. He gave him a hand, he outstretched his hand, stretched out his hand to help Reish Lakish get out of the water. And Reish Lakish from the land of Israel responded, I swear, gives an oath, God hates you Babylonians that you did not come back to the land of Israel, and therefore the second return was not eternal. Those are tough words. The Kuzari, Rabbi Yehuda Halevi, he writes in his second lecture, paragraph 24, he writes the following: the majority, the important people remained in Babylonia. They were content to be subservient to Babylonia. Thus, they chose not to leave their homes and their possessions. Amazing. Next, we have Shir Hashirim Rabbah. Okay, I summarize it. We're in Shir Hashirim Rabbah, chapter 8, paragraph 11. There's a story there. We'll skip over the story, just the bottom line there. There was an exchange between somebody from Babylonia and somebody from the land of Israel. But here's the important point. The words of our sages, they conclude, If the Jews of Babylonia would have gone up to the land of Israel in large numbers, the temple would not have been destroyed a second time. You heard that right. Not my words. Black and white. Check it out. The Talmudic commentary of the Marsha on Tractate Yoma, page 9, side B, says the following: if the Jews would have gone up to the land of Israel en masse, they would not have needed to build a wall around Jerusalem to protect them from enemies. This could be found in the Torah, Nehemiah chapter 2, verse 4. God would have miraculously protected them. That is amazing. If they're building a wall around the city of Jerusalem to protect themselves from all the enemies of the Jewish people, there was no need to protect. There would have been no need for any protection, exterior protection. They would have been safe with living in open cities. But because of this transgression, it didn't play out that way. Rabbi Yaakov Emden, in his prayer book called Beit Yaakov, page 14, side B, says the following: if the Jewish people would have returned in mass, time of the second redemption after 70 years of Babylonian exile, that would have brought upon the final redemption. Folks, if you're still in your seat and you haven't pulled all your hair out, you're really missing the point over here. This is amazing. This is beyond the scope, what we're talking about here. From Abraham down the road to the second temple. Whoa. So far, we've had 2 points. Judaism is not Christianity. It's not Islam, thank God. And the Torah goes out of its way to show minuscule transgressions of the great ones in order for us to learn and for them to have an atonement for their small, microscopic transgression, number one. Number two, from Abraham down throughout history, the returning to the land of Israel, the living in the land of Israel, has been a tremendously difficult point for the Jewish people. Why? Very clearly, we have that track record. It's like this. Let's say you come from a family, and the family history, there's a history, God forbid, of some kind of illness. Your chances of getting that illness are 100 times greater, 1,000 times greater than anybody else. So this is exactly what we're talking about. We're really standing not on one leg, we're on one toe. Due to the history, our failing over the centuries, over the millennia, when it came to deal with the land of Israel. It's so clear to see, to understand. It's understood why it's so difficult for us with our track record. Okay, point number 3. Did they just blow it? It is told, we are told, in the Tractate of Sukkah, page 52, side A, evil inclination is greater in the great people. The evil inclination, Yetzer Hara, attacks the sages, the Torah scholars, more than the regular populace. Amazing. You would think that, they have it made in the shade. We have to sweat it out. We have all of these tests. We have all of these battle royals. Not them. Oh, here comes the Torah and hits it out of the stadium. They have more difficult tests than we do. Why is that? Rabbi Chaim Vital, prize student of the Arizal, he writes in the book of Gilgulim, page 86, in order to retain free choice, Great people need a bigger evil inclination in order to allow free choice. So simple, so straightforward. At the beginning, at the first second you hear it, it sounds like preposterous. Like, what are you talking about? That's insane. It ain't insane. In order, Rabbi, in Michtav Eliyahu, Rav Dessler writes an amazing thing. How could it be? A famous question. How could God harden the heart of Pharaoh? Then it's not fair. It's not a fair fight. And he says an amazing thing. He had to harden his heart in order that there would be free choice. Because if you saw those miracles, you don't have any free choice. So in order to have free choice, he had to harden his heart to make it a fair game. It's like, put it this way. It's kind of like Stephen Curry, if he's going to play against a college star, you got to tie one hand of Steph behind his back in order to have some type of fair game here. That's the idea here. When the Talmud tells us that the righteous are being attacked more often, harsher than the simpletons, what type of evil inclination are we talking about here? So Rabbi Yisrael of Salant, the famous founder of the the Musar movement, the ethical movement, he writes there in one of his letters, in the letters of Musar, we are talking here about a spiritual evil inclination, not materialistic. We are talking about the head angel of evil, the Samech Mem. The head. Whoa. In the book, Otzar Mefarshei Talmud, on the Tractate of Sukkah, page 52, side A. Listen to this. This is amazing. Listen closely. This must be learned. The reason the evil inclination attacks the scholars is because if the voice is the voice of Jacob, then the hands of Esav are destroyed. As we know, there's a seesaw. When the Jewish people are doing what we're supposed to do, learning Torah, doing commandments, being a light, then the nations of the world are down. When the Jewish people are not, the nations of the world subjugate us. That's how it works. So therefore, the evil inclination, so to speak, his lifeline is on the line. Because if these Torah scholars, if these giants, if they succeed in influencing the masses, then the voice will be the voice of Jacob. And that's the end. That's the death of God's creation. As we say in the book of Isaiah, the creation of evil in order to have free choice. God tests us with spiritual impurity beings, angels. This is an amazing concept. So they have to incite against the righteous, against the Torah scholars, in order that the voice should not be the voice of Jacob. And they use sometimes the issue of the land of Israel to bring us down. We are told every generation there is a certain spiritual evil inclination pulling down even the great ones. This is in Sanhedrin, page 102, side B. We are told a story there. Rabbi Ashi, a Talmudic scholar, told his students, tomorrow in our class we will begin talking about our monarchy Torah scholar friends. Like us, but they do not have a share in the world to come. Rabbi Ashi is calling the kings of Israel, who the Talmud says do not have a share in the world to come, though they were Torah scholars like us, they do not have a share in the world to come. He's calling them our friends. That night, Menashe, who's one of those three kings, comes to Rav Ashi in his dream, and he says, do you think that you're really, my words, do you think you're really in the same league as we are? Menashe goes, asks them a question, he proves his point, that the kings were on a much higher level than the level of the sages in the time of Rav Ashi. So Rav Ashi can't understand it. You're on such a high level, much greater than we are. How did you blow it? Menashe responds amazingly. In our days, there was a tremendous evil inclination, push, drive to go after idols. If you were in our generation, we tried our best. We put on long clothes that we would trip and we would fall, and it would take us longer, more time, more of an effort to worship idols. If you were around, you would just lift up your skirt, your pants, and you would run without any barriers to stop you. We mentioned in the first class, every generation has a certain commandment, that it's the challenge. It's the crown, so to speak, of that generation. Rabbi Moshe Charlap, based on this Torah, which is brought down by many, in our generation, that commandment, that challenge, that test, that fixing is the commandment to live in the land of Israel. How do we know? Look at what the world is fighting against. When you look at the time of the Maccabees, in the time of Hanukkah, what bothered them? Commandment of Shabbat, the commandment of the new month. These are things, the circumcision, those were what needed to be strengthened. Look at the world. What do they talk about day in, day out? The UN, look what percentage of the resolutions there are against Israel. Look at the front pages of all the newspapers. Who are they talking about? Israel, the land of Israel, Israel, Israel. They are obsessed. This is the spiritual challenge of our generation. Or HaChaim HaKadosh, Leviticus 25:25, easy to remember, says an amazing line. The redemption will take place when God will awaken our hearts to ask ourselves, is it good for us to be exiled from our Father's table? That's when the redemption, when we start asking that question, is it good that we're here? We're outside the land? In the future, the lords of the earth, the prominent, the Gdolei Yisrael, the giants of Israel, will have to be judged from God, who will take them to task for the disgrace of his house, i.e., my Rabbi taught us, Rabbi Moshe Tzuriel, Zecher Tzadik, Kadosh Livracha, God's house is, of course, the land of Israel. Or HaChaim HaKadosh, they will have to, God forbid, pay a price for the disgrace of the land of Israel. Rabbi Eliyahu Gutmacher lived from 1796 to 1874 in Western Poland. Listen to what various rabbis had to say about him. First of all, he was a student of the famous Rabbi Akiva Eger. They said about Rabbi Gutmacher, he was similar to an angel. He was a giant in the secrets of the Torah, Kabbalah. He was an holy person. He was equal to thousands of Jewish giants, Torah giants, in Torah and in righteousness. He was equal to thousands. This was not your average bear. He writes, this could be found in Q&A, questions and answers, Nefesh Chaya, end of question number 1. This was a letter that he sent to Rabbi Chaim Elazar Vachs. He was the head of the Beit Din of Kalish. Settling the land is so fundamental and crucial that the impure spiritual powers in the world influence even the greatest righteous Jews to go against the settlement of Israel. Since once the land of Israel is settled, that spiritual impure force will be nullified. So it must incite the righteous to stay alive. Exactly the same concept that we heard about our seesaw, that the impure forces of spirituality must attack the righteous in order that they discourage, in order that they cool off the desire to live in the land of Israel. This is amazing. It attacks the greatest, even the biggest tzaddikim. Not my words, I would never say that. This impure spiritual force that attacks, we could say, how was Abraham not able to really see who Yishmael, his son, was? How was Isaac not able to see who his son Esau really was? He was about to give him the blessings. That's what we're talking about here. It's not easy. We would just be run over. We would put up the white flag in a second. We're so weak. But we're talking about the great ones. Similar, the Rabbi Yaakov Friedman, the Rebbe of, I hope I'm pronouncing this correct, Hosiatin, in his book on the Torah, commentary on the Torah, Oalei Yaakov, pages 389 and 330. I summarize. Amazing. They should really have this in English. It's long. I'm just putting a few ideas here. Those outside the land of Israel, he moved to Tel Aviv. He was one of these Hasidic Rebbes. He moved to Tel Aviv. He was there for, if I'm not mistaken, about 10 years, then he passed away. Those outside the land of Israel, not only do they not move here, but they try to extinguish any spark of those interested in going to the land. We need those people. We need the religious. We need the Haredi communities. We need them here in the land of Israel to influence the future of Judaism in the land of Israel, of the country. We see the redemption is near. We see so many signs left and right. So the evil inclination does all possible to discourage Jews from coming to the land of Israel. Amazing. The same ideas over and over again, dear friends. They claim, look at what's going on in the land of Israel. They cry out. Look at all this evil that is happening in the land. Look at all these sinners. Look at all these secular Jews in the land of Israel. Look at the government of Israel. The Rabbi says this is all from the evil inclination. What can we do? They tell people, what can we do? Look at the situation. The Torah tells us, concludes the Rebbe of Hositan. The Torah, he says, the Talmud knew that every excuse in the book would be used not to settle the land of Israel. Pull it out. All and any excuse. Therefore, it tells us that if a Jew lives in the land of Israel, and that is the only commandment that he has, like the wicked Esau who lived here, and Jacob was afraid of him. He was a wicked person, Esau, and so are they. But they have the commandment of Israel. They live here. They have God. And those outside, though they have tremendous amount of Torah, tremendous amounts of commandments, good deeds, charity, they are likened to ones that have no God. Last idea for today. There are two amazing verses. One, chapter 44, verse 24. For so says the Lord, your Redeemer, the one who formed you in the womb. I am the Lord, maker of all. It is I who unravels the evil signs, who turns the sorcerers mad, who turns the wise men back, confusing their knowledge. Once again, in chapter 44, Isaiah is telling us about how God, even the most intelligent of the nations, and all types of sorcerers, etc., witchcraft, God makes them make stupid decisions. But this is not only talking about non-Jews or sinners. Listen to this. In Isaiah chapter 29, verse 14. It's also Jews. I shall go on dazzling this people by wonder upon wonder until their wise ones lose their wisdom and the knowledge of their knowing ones hides itself away. In the tractate of Gittin, 56a, there is an amazing story there. Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, he had a discussion with the Emperor of Rome. He asked for three things. Rabbi Akiva, some say it's Rabbi Yosef, come by. And they use this verse. Why didn't Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, why didn't he ask for the temple? Why didn't he ask for Jerusalem? And they use this verse. God took away his knowledge, his wisdom, his keenness. What does that mean? Folks, sometimes the generation, because we are lax in various commandments, this creates a weakness in our sages. It is not the sages. They are on a tremendous pedestal. But because of us, because of the masses, because of the population, we're all connected. And therefore, we create situations where there are mistakes. The light of God is hidden from the great ones. That was what Rabbi Akiva was saying about Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai. Why didn't he ask the obvious? For Jerusalem, for the temple. That too is a possibility. Once again, I don't have my prophetic hat on, but these are some ideas. These are some ideas that we have to always remember, and remember them. Engrave them on our hearts. These are very, very important ideas when we look, and we always hide behind what is being said by this, by that, by this, by that. If it's something that is if it's something that there is a dispute, look it up, check it out, use your head. That's all. You heard something, respect those words. If you see another side, a gigantic mountain on the other side, check it out. Don't just raise up the white flag. Don't touch that dial till the next time, the finale.